In today's rapidly evolving world, innovation has become the lifeblood of any successful business. And developing an entrepreneurial mindset that prioritizes innovation is critical for sustained long-term success, year after year, decade after decade. That's what we hope for. Embracing the entrepreneurial mindset empowers individuals and companies to identify opportunities, take calculated risks, adapt to changing times, learn from failure, and ultimately create innovative solutions that are the basis of a strong foundation for long-term profitable growth. There is no one best way to drive innovation, but the approach that I like, that really resonates with me, is a customer-centric innovation. Innovation based on a deep understanding of the customer. This places the needs and the desires of customers at the center of product and service development. Everything is done because there's nothing more important than a customer. This approach can enhance customer satisfaction, foster loyalty, and gain a competitive advantage in the market. But most importantly, the outcome creates long-term trusting partnerships. Johanson Transportation Service and its leadership team, headed by Larry Johanson, President and CEO, is an excellent example of a local organization that has driven growth over 50 years, deploying an entrepreneurial mindset throughout its organization and a customer-centric culture, a culture where all 80-plus team members feel that they are making a positive contribution to the goals of the organization because they are all working off the same values. Founded in 1971 as a small local transportation startup focused on shipping dry goods, Johanson Transportation, which I will refer to as JTS, Johanson Transportation Services, sorry Larry, it's a little bit of a mouthful, I'm going to refer to it as JTS, has become today a third-party solutions provider. Some of you might not understand what that is, but they help other companies manage their supply chain with a network of truck, air, ocean, rail, and other intermodal types of transportation solutions. JTS provides this full portfolio both for domestic and international customers. Over the decades, growth strategies have been multi-pronged. JTS has grown by creating new market opportunities from a startup that depended solely on dry goods to creating a really strong presence in something that's important for our valley, the movement of perishable goods. Today, this is one of the company's core market focuses. They have grown through geographical expansion, with headquarters here in Fresno, out on Olive Avenue. They have opened up 7 regional offices spread evenly across the United States. I think it's evenly. It seemed evenly when I read about it, but it's from Oregon all the way to Florida. And they're doing this because they're meeting the ever-changing needs of their customers, but also getting closer to the customers and where their products and services are needed. JTS has also grown by using integrated technology to create a stronger service and more efficient operations throughout its organization. What's really unique about JTS is that they have not only really grown by using technology, but they've actually created their own integrated technology in-house that is customized for their customers, that gives them so much more value than a lot of other companies that service that same set of potential customers. This is critical in a really complex supply chain world. And the more information you have, the more readily you have it at your fingertips. It's important for their customers as well as their organization. These are just a few examples of how JTS has grown by meeting and exceeding customers' expectations. It is an organization that has learned to thrive on change by adapting to better approaches, testing new capabilities, creating an organizational culture that works collaboratively, both internally and externally. In a nutshell, they are a true example of an entrepreneurial company that is driven by innovation, and that has led them to be one of the leading 3PL organizations in the country. As I thought about today, it was really hard for me after Larry and Alicia and Rick said yes to being with us today. Where were we going to take this conversation? We could discuss how JTS has had our three guest speakers have all attended Fresno State, and they've all given back to Fresno State throughout the years. We could talk about the importance of philanthropic support weaved throughout the Johanson transportation and the values that make the organization give back to our community on a regular basis, year after year. We could talk about the programs that Larry and his wife Patty are supporting here at Fresno State that are really personal to me and have huge value to our students throughout the university. We could talk about a family business. We could talk about how it is to work side by side with your father, like I had the opportunity to do for 25 years. That's another topic we could explore. We could talk about the world of logistics, one of my favorite topics, and an industry that I hope all of you think about and look at and understand the importance of the logistics and how you have to continually innovate in this very complex, either domestic or international environment. We could talk about the development of technology and how that is driving their success. We could talk about the entrepreneurial mindset and innovation. There's so much we could talk about. So you can see I had a real problem figuring out how we're going to weave all these topics into a conversation today in an hour and 15 minutes or so. So Rick, Alicia, and Larry and I decided that the best way to do this is that they will come up and they will all share their stories, and then we're going to open up to questions from all of you. Some of you have already sent those questions to me, and I appreciate that. But others, I hope that the conversation and what they share with you stimulates some good questions, and that's how we're going to roll with this presentation today, because we want it to be as interactive as possible. So it's my pleasure to welcome up Larry Johanson, President and CEO of Johanson Transportation, Rick Rattazzi, Senior Vice President of the company's important perishable division, and Alicia Bly, Vice President of Corporate Operations and Legal Affairs, a critical role in a very complex and ever-changing industry. Please join me in welcoming the team from JTS.
Gosh, I was sitting here. Can you hear me okay? I was sitting in my chair over there, and I'm looking around, and I'm a December 1975 grad. And I don't even think that the word entrepreneurial had even been invented yet. I know I couldn't spell it if it was. And gosh, and I look at where we are now, and I look at each of you and what you're accomplishing and how smart you are. And then fast forwarding, sitting here now at this point in my life with some decades of experience, I realize how important, like, just being entrepreneurial, being inquisitive, working hard, not giving up, it means everything, and it is not confined to a college or two. It's a mindset. It's how you live your life. So there's a lot of things that we can talk about. I really want to ask you, though, for us, when we've been here and we've spent time with students and faculty, really love to hear what's on your mind, because it's inspiring and it's educational for us too. So we're glad to be here.
Hi, my name is Rick Rattazzi. I have been with the company since I graduated from Fresno State 38 plus years ago. I'm married, been in Fresno most of my life. I've had a great ride. Larry hired me, woke me up after an interview. I had an interview in the afternoon, and I was working at Save Mart at the time. Had to go to work at midnight, he called me at 8 o'clock at night when I was trying to sleep to go to work for him. And I was like, I'm not sure I'm ready to do that, but it worked out great. I'm looking forward. I had a great discussion, quick discussion just a few minutes ago, and how little I knew about the job that has been my career. And I was just talking to the 4 students at the table over there, and I was asking them some questions that I thought maybe they knew, and maybe I was really in the dark ages. Just simple things. Can you differentiate between a reefer van and a dry van? Do you know the difference? And they didn't, and neither did I when I started. And some of those benchmarks you come back to, and you just realize that the students they've got the world out there, and you really, a lot of you may know where you're going, but a lot of you probably don't. And I wasn't quite sure where I was going, but I had an entrepreneurial mindset, a good work ethic. I'd been throwing newspapers and mowing lawns and for my whole life until I could go to work at 16, and I started working at 16. And we've worked hard. You know, I don't think you need to be able to put up with a little bit of stress in life, and people are looking for sometimes no stress, but I think to be successful, you have to pick up some stress. You know, it's been like Larry said, we're kind of looking forward to hearing from the audience some questions. We can get down in the weeds on what we do every day. But it gets pretty technical. But through COVID, I think everybody became more acutely aware of the supply chain. And that's what we've been operating in for years. But when I started, we were a broker, and I had taken a transportation class here. And I thought, what the heck is a transportation broker? He was calling me in for an interview, and I went to my book, and it had 2 sentences. And I used those 2 sentences on the other lady that was interviewing me, and she looked at me like she'd never heard that before. So
it worked.
So it's kind of, you know, there's book smart, and there's street smart, but we kind of figured it out, and here we are today. So sorry for the long-winded explanation, but looking forward to spending the next hour with you guys.
Good afternoon. I almost said good morning, but it's good afternoon. My name's Alicia, as Mindy welcomed us all up here. Thank you. It's been an honor to sit for the last 30 minutes at the one table I got to. I really wanted to try and travel around, but it was a great conversation we had there, and I'm excited to be here and hear from you guys. I started with Johanson's in 2007, and I have held many different roles outside of probably the janitor, but I'm sure I've done some of that too. Done some of that too. I have definitely worked my way up in the company. Many thanks to Larry and the great foundation that he has put together with his staff and the company to do so. And I was a graduate. I went through the EMBA program here at Fresno State in 2019. We were the cohort that supposedly brought COVID back to the U.S. from China.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, we are blamed and coined for that. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice, so to tag off of what Rick said, you never really know which way you're going. I entered into San Diego State thinking I wanted to be a kinesiology major. Couldn't get my classes, too impacted. Switched over to criminal justice, have a bachelor's in criminal justice, and then somehow made my way back to the Valley and had a nice interview at Johanson's, thinking I was going to work for a trucking company with a ton of trucks. Pull up and there's not a truck in sight, and there's this beautiful office. And I had the job the following Monday, and I've been there ever since. So enough about me. I'm excited to learn from all of you, and please, no question's a silly question. We're happy to answer it in the best way we can. So thank you again for having us.
Okay. I do have some questions, but I'd really like to throw it out to you first. Would anybody like to start with the questioning? There's one right there.
During COVID
Can you stand
time,
up? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. You made a little joke about COVID, so I was just wondering, during COVID time, how was your company affected by it, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Well, yeah.
That's the table that I sat at, and I asked her to ask a question. She got it done quickly.
Good job.
You know, that was really an interesting time for us because we could spend a lot of time talking about the IT side of our business, which is really critical to getting to where we are and as a driver to go forward. So we've spent a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears, dollars, trying to really come through with and develop a very complete DR program, disaster recovery, just in case something happens at our building. So there's many facets to that, but one of the last big hurdles we had, what happens if our building burns down and everybody's got to go work remote? We already have the power covered. We have a pretty good sized generator that'll run everything if something should happen. So what COVID did, it forced our hand. So because nobody could go to work. So thanks to really in part to Alicia and a few others, worked really, really hard in the IT side, got us all set up. So now there's days I walk in, I have a little mini heart attack. There's like 6 people there. And everybody's working remote and they're moving and managing very efficiently a significant volume of freight. So that's.
How did it affect the way you work with the truckers? Was it difficult in any way?
Yeah, it's kind of a domino effect, right? So it took a while for it to catch up through the supply chain. And really, the truckers were the first ones to come to the forefront, and then it then shifted to the shipping side, right? Because truckers weren't wanting to go to the dock, then there was no interaction allowed. They couldn't get out of their truck. Well, how do you, in Rick's department especially, there is a heavy influx of, it's not shipper loading count, right? So the driver needs to be on the dock inspecting the loading and unloading process, and that couldn't be done. And so there was a lot of unique challenges that presented with our shipping community and our clients. However, at the same token, it actually strengthened some of our partnerships because we were able to have this communication, we were able to reach out, in times like we're in now, that allowed us to open up that channel for further dialogue and build those relationships that a lot of clients just didn't want to talk to you on the back end.
It also created an extreme shortage of capacity because the drivers were getting COVID at the same time.
Yeah.
So truck drivers were hard to come by. They were sick.
Mm-hmm.
So there weren't as many trucks on the road. At the same time, a lot of retail businesses were closing. We have a heavy presence in the grocery side, Costco, Albertsons, Aldi's, Whole Foods. The grocery side of the business exploded because everyone was eating at home. And so it was probably the hardest 2 years consecutively for our business because we had a huge capacity issue. We had to fight for the capacity from the carriers.
Mm-hmm.
It has an inverse relationship to supply and demand because of the demand was so high. The pricing got historically high, so budgets were being blown. Customers were just needed to get product on the shelves for all of us and it was really, really hard. And we got through it, and we actually picked up some business during that time because we came through for customers when their other providers were letting them down.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times in business, you have to be there at the toughest time for a customer, and they recognize that you're doing that, and then they reward you with business going forward after that event has backed off. So it's a great way to grow sales, but it's sometimes a hard way because you're really learning the business at a tough time. But they need you, and then if they're a good, loyal customer, they're going to reciprocate. It's going to help us grow, and it's been a good strategy for us.
It was a really good educational opportunity for the whole supply chain, really, because nobody really understood or really talked about, transportation is usually the bottom of corporate discussion and the budget. And with COVID, it kind of escalated all that to the top. So now everybody knows everybody knows about supply chain and makes our jobs and our discussions with our clients a little bit easier. Good question.
Thank you.
Okay, back there in the back.
All right, so my name's Alex. I have a few questions on what a third-party provider is. I know trucking companies, their profit margins are like single digits. What does your business actually do? Since you don't own trucks, are you like the directory, or how does that work?
I like to call it like a travel agent, but for freight, right? So we arrange transportation from point A to point B, and we contract with the motor carrier to do that with our client's freight. We don't own any trucks, so we're strictly non-asset based. Where it gets convoluted is there are some brokerages like us that actually own assets and have an asset division, so they run both sides, and so it's kind of confusing. Going through some of the transportation courses here, it's real hard to separate the two, but we're a property broker, and so we're just strictly non-asset based. We don't own any trucks.
So explain maybe how you go about getting customers and what the services what you do for a customer. I tried to explain what a 3PL is, but I looked at 1,000 different definitions, I have to tell you. All I know is that when we were over there on Clovis Avenue, I wish you guys had been a full 3PL then, because I would have said, here, take it all. But if you could explain that, I think it would be helpful.
Well, I think the word transportation broker got such a negative connotation in the industry. I think 3PL just kind of came to this like glorified, definition, because a lot of transportation brokers realize really quick when competing with the assets, like you have to diversify your offerings or else you're going to lose out on business. So they offer, brokers like us offer technology solutions, all modes of transportation solutions. And so we're not just an asset, we're a 3PL. We're offering logistics solutions for many of our clients.
So do they give you, so when you go for a customer, you would go and pick up if you could just walk us through maybe a couple different examples, maybe Rick, one perishable and a non-perishable, and sort of to make an understanding, because I think.
On the perishable side,
Sales side.
Hmm?
Sales side in general.
sales side, the sales side. Being in business 53 years in the business that we're in, there's a lot of shaky dudes in the business. They don't pay their bills, they're a broker, they don't pay their trucks. We have outstanding credit and resources to substantiate our business to any larger company. So they do their due diligence, and that helps us. 53 years, these guys must be doing something right. And then it really comes down to communication into the traffic department and trying to find a need. One of the largest, I've called on customers for years and never gotten freight, never done anything. And there's a large box store that we do business with, and we were doing business in large volumes in 5 months because they were growing. So sometimes you just have to, in sales, you're out there, you're prospecting, you're working, you're in the right place at the right time. And we tell our own salespeople, they're probably not going to call you if they don't know who you are. So you have to make you have to make a lot of calls and hope that you get maybe 1 or 2% traction. And if you get that traction, once you prove yourself in business, and goes for a lot of businesses, it's repetitive business. It just keeps coming in, and it keeps coming in, and it keeps coming in, and you work hard to keep it. We proved ourselves greatly through COVID with a lot of customers. And that's in logistics, in transportation. If it's not where we can buy it, they're screaming at you. So coming through on time, all the trucks are tracked, traced, appointments set. We have people, another facet to the business, we have an offshore solution in Colombia that runs our business 24/7. When Larry and I started, we were the offshore 24/7 guys. They'd call us, truck's not arriving at 6 a.m. on the East Coast, they're ringing the bell. And at 3 a.m., you're trying to find this truck that's missing. So it's reliability, it's predictability. Now there's a lot of metrics in place to track us, track on time. And I'll just put my sales hat on for a minute. If you're out there and you have transportation, and we're not doing business like Mindy, I don't think we ever did business.
I wish we
I
did.
brought my cards.
Yeah, and we have plenty of cards, but we're always looking to grow, and it's always really beneficial if you can grow within the same community that you're giving back to. So, and we're close, we can show you what we can do. So that's the sales cycle on a
Well,
temp
and
control.
I think it's one of the most, I truly do believe it's one of the most fascinating and important aspects of your whole cycle working with your customer. Because once you produce the goods, let's say you're a manufacturer, you produce the goods, it's not done until that customer gets the product in the condition that they want to get the product in the time frame they want to get it in. So the way that I understand it is that really a company like JTS acts as an extension of an existing business, providing all of that service so that not only would I be satisfied as the manufacturer, but my customers are satisfied too. And they offer the whole realm of transportation services, which really, based on their culture, has allowed them to grow over these years from shipping dry goods only to perishable goods to acting in a domestic and international capability. And I guess my question I throw at all three of you, how do you do that with your team? I mean, what is that cultural mix that you look for so that all of you are moving in that same direction and not only being a great provider for the companies you work for, but continuing to grow the business on a year-to-year, decade after decade basis?
Let me take a stab at that. I guess what I need to do is go back to the beginning, and I was there. That's when my dad stepped aside from the company he was at for 18 years because of ethical concerns he had with the company. That's why he left. And determined that he was going to open up his own company, but he was going to set an ethical foundation for what he wanted this company to look like. And as I thought about that, and I thought about then, once we have 4 core values: experience, integrity, gratitude. Down the road, we added respect, so that was the 4th one. We feel like that is the foundation. That is a constant that never has changed in all our years. It won't. But we felt that we had to get that in place. And then once you have that, then you start thinking. You start thinking about, how am I going to take a company? How am I going to launch this company? How am I going to make it grow? Who's going to help me? I need to build a team. There's a bunch of things that come into play. Entrepreneurial thinking. That's when that started to kick in. I know my dad had ideas, and then I came along a year or two after and started. So that is the very, very beginning. And then you can fast forward up through 53 years. We've stayed constant to that. As we have added, the key is staff. The key is finding people that believe in our core values. And we feel that that has to be really what drives you to a certain degree as a human being. If yours conflict with ours, probably not going to work. And so we've learned this over decades by making mistakes, and we're a lot better at it now. So now we have assimilated a staff of aggressive, forward-thinking, creative individuals in this company that have taken this company, they're amazing, and gotten us to where we're going. But we're not there yet. We're not good enough. We got to get better. And we just keep working. How do we do that? How do we do that? How do we do that? How do we get better? Where's the next opportunity? So like Alicia and her team, Rick, that's the mindset that we have. We haven't arrived. And I think when you think like that, then you get to the point you earn the repetitive business, that you were talking about. It doesn't come overnight, and you can lose it just as quickly as you got it too. We don't forget that.
One of the questions that I was asked a number of times when you all registered was, they wanted to know what each of you would say to your 22-year-old self as a way to share with them, many of them 22, what kind of advice would you give to yourself today? Who wants to tackle that one first?
I'll go. Being 22 today, you know a lot more than I did when I was 22. I would encourage you to do this. Surround yourself with mentors, people that can teach you, that have been at it a while. They know things. And you have a lot of knowledge. And when I was 22, I had some knowledge, but not like I do now. You know, after 48 years in the business, I know more. So as a 22-year-old Larry, surround yourself with good quality people, mentors that are going to come along and kind of help you down your path. That's what I would say.
Agree. I think finding a leader, a mentor that you can establish in different areas of the life, those will change throughout your life as well. But to my 22-year-old self, rely on them, reach out to them is one for sure. The other one is don't settle and continue to ask questions. Push yourself to the limits. When you think you've reached your limit, then there's another one to be reached.
I would say, when I was in college, I thought I was going to go to work for probably a larger corporation. I was interviewing at the time. Larry hired me before, actually a few months before I graduated, and I started coming in at 2 in the afternoon. And the training manual was pretty thin. I think it was a phone call and start talking to people. And I would not discount the family businesses that are especially in this area. The valley's a little devoid of a lot of corporate businesses, and the corporations have their place. But in a family business, and Larry's been great to work with. He's been consistent in my almost 39 years. We worked next to each other for years and years. We hung up the phones, we got mad, but we kind of had a similar mindset. But so the family businesses, and I say family, this is a family business, but we're a top 50? Top 50
3PL.
3PL in the United States. But
That's
we're-
out, just, that, think about that. That is not out of 75. I mean,
Right.
it's out of thousands of
Thousands, yeah.
companies.
And we're sitting in a little building over there and I had a guy come in just the other day. He said, "Where are all your trucks?" I mean, nobody really understands the business, but there's a lot of ag in here. Every produce company has a logistics department, shipping to Walmart, shipping to Costco, bringing their supplies in and out. Every chain has so the whole supply chain is vast, and you can go to work for a small produce shipper in this area, and you could take that to get to the corporate level in another area. You might say what I like about the family business, the small business, is I have an impact. Good and bad, but I have an impact. I'm not a number. But my 22-year-old self was thinking corporate, Fortune 500, whatever. And I fell into the job kind of by accident, didn't know nothing about nothing. I mean, I didn't know. So if you think you're out there, we were talking at the table, if you think you really have to know the business that you're going into, I don't think you do. If you're an engineer, you're kind of trained for that. If you're medical, you're trained for that. But if you're in the school of business and you see supply chain and you see traffic, a lot of times a corporation will start their people off in traffic because it kind of gives them a good overview of where their product's coming and going and where it's going to end up. But you probably all over the last couple of years with COVID are familiar now with the supply chain. It could be international. So my 22-year-old self didn't know anything about the supply chain, didn't know anything about a truck, didn't know anything about a refrigeration unit. But I had a good work ethic, and I think anybody can be successful with those attributes.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes, Seferino.
Hi, I'm Zephyr, and I have a question for Larry. So,
Can you speak up, Seferino? I'm sorry.
yeah, is it possible to develop your startup to be recession resistant?
I don't know how you could do that, just as I sit here just right off the top of my head, because that would mean that no outside influencers are going to impact your business, whether they're good or bad. So every business has good things that happen to it, and they have competitive things that they have to deal with. So it's pretty difficult to do that, if I understood your question correctly.
Does that answer it, Seth?
So it's unrealistic.
I won't use that word. I'm just not quite sure how you could do it. Because you can't operate in a bubble.
Other questions? Yes, there's two at that table back there.
My name is Joseph. So the question I have, as you guys have grown over the 50 years or plus that you guys have, as you guys have grown over the the 50 years plus years that you guys have been in business, how have you guys gone into new markets and grown when there's been other providers already servicing those areas? Because you guys are across the nation and into foreign markets as well, I'm assuming. And just like how do you go about dominating other markets when you have other people out there, especially people on the East Coast, I mean even on the West Coast. I know we have ag here, which is a humongous key holder. You're in the Central Valley, but how do you guys go about going into other markets and beating out your competitors?
It all starts with people. First, we hire and retain really great people, and sometimes those hires are strategic in different regions because of their expertise in bringing on new business for that region. And other times it could be like an organic growth through a current customer that we have that may elicit new business in a different region. Our international department was, Larry can speak to this a little bit more, but it was organically started through the family business and through people that graduated here at Fresno State that are still with the company now and in our Roseville office, and had developed that into a segment of our business that really helped it on the marketability side, and then also just give us a full offering of solutions. So I don't know about dominating. I would say there's enough freight out there for every broker, every good broker that participates or that's a part of our supply chain. It's just a matter of getting in and getting our teeth sunk into a customer, and then once we do that, they usually never leave because our service outperforms the rest. You wanna add to that?
Thank you. There was a second question here.
Hi, my name is Dr. Matthew Gendian. I'm a professor of sociology and the Humanics Community-Based Leadership Program at Fresno State. I have a question for all three of you. First, I want to thank you, Larry, and your family for how you've given back to both this university and the Valley in many ways. I work with your father specifically. I think he's an exemplar of what it means to be a philanthropist, giving up his time, talent, and treasure, whether it was through the Fresno Business Council, the Central Valley Community Foundation, and other initiatives like that. My question to you on that part is, are there any lessons or values from your parents that are always in your mind that influence your day-to-day decision making? If you could share one or two of those values or less specific lessons that you learned from your parents. And then for Alicia and Rick, I wanted to ask, Larry, you kind of mentioned about the importance of mentoring and seeking out mentors. And we talk about the importance of social capital. And coming out of COVID and with the social media age, I'm finding a lot of students very isolated and not having the depth of relationships that are needed. And so if Alicia and Rick, you can talk about your own network development and what relationships specifically led you to the opportunity at JTS. That would be kind of insight.
Great question, Matthew.
I was very, very fortunate. I had an opportunity to work with my dad. And he started in 1971, and I actually started working part-time in the company here in Fresno into 73 and 74, then going forward. My dad was an amazing man, and highly committed to ethics and just passionate about building a quality professional brokerage firm. And that wasn't the reputation back in that decade. It was something quite different. And he did. And he stayed committed to that and never waved off of compromising values, chasing dollars. Just didn't do it. And so to be able to be around my dad and watch him, you know, in the office, and he stuck me over to, he was doing dry freight, and he put me on the produce side, this, where I wanted to be, because I wanted to try to start something that I would be able to say I had, so I could know for myself, my own confidence, that I had the talent to build something. Then started getting amazing people like Rick and a few other things, and was able to continue to work with my dad. So for a long time, and even when he stepped out of the day-to-day, he was still around. So I had him for a long time, and I don't know that I measure up, but absolutely have done everything we can possibly do to make sure that the company stays true to the values and how we do what we do internally with our staff and externally out in the public where we do our thing. And I think a testament to that is the fact that we are continuing to grow. And gosh, the best recommendation is still, maybe it's old school, but I think it's word of mouth.
Matthew, great observation we get internally from some of the younger people that socially are challenged. And, you know, we have, back in the day when I started, it was all on the phone, and you had to talk or you ain't getting nothing done, right? It's telephone. Now, we have operations people that 90% of the job is in front of the screen and typing and working. And there is a bit of a deficit out there with the outgoingness of some of the younger people. And I think that that's something that our society, with all the social media, it's really a loss for them, and it's a loss for us. And I'd recommend any students out there, you're marketing yourself when you're talking, and the mentoring. And I have people that come to me for mentoring, but I have some that have never stepped foot in front of me. And you know, that being said, some quiet people they're assassins with their work volume. I mean, they really can put the work out.
Yep.
But in the family business, we really value that camaraderie, the family, you know, kind of getting to know someone on the side. You know, you have to be careful with the privacy laws now and all this, but we're pretty good with all that. But it is an issue, no doubt. Some people are painfully shy because they're not used to talking. They're used to spending their time on their social media. And I'd strongly recognize, if you think you're one of those people, I'd say that's something you really need to work on, because it's really hard to sell yourself to a potential employer or socially in a group, friends, if you're, you know, behind your phone most of the time. So that's my take on it. You
So,
go.
I do agree with that. Looking at, one of my favorite things about Dick Johanson was, you know, two things. So he would come in every day and say, anybody have any hard questions? And that'll stick with us forever. And we used to actually put hard questions on his desk, and he would always answer them, just to get him engaged. Yeah, it was great. But the other thing that he always, in just talking to him, he always, and it just settles with me every single day that I walk in the office, is the people. Our people matter, and I feel very passionate about our people. I feel like I have an obligation every day that I walk into that building to make sure that everybody that works for our company enjoys what they do. There's going to be bad days, we know that. And so going to what you're speaking to on the, you know, the socially the social challenges that we have with some of the labor force that's coming into the market, I try to find ways when we're interviewing or when we're bringing in staff to mentor or engage them in the remote environment, or find their strengths on the operational level where they can still be engaged, to help them transition to getting to know somebody they didn't, whether it's committee work, whether it's writing in our news article, whether it's you know, cross-training. And a lot of that goes, I think because of COVID, we were able to really accelerate even more so our internships and our mentorship programs that we do. And bringing in the labor force in that aspect versus hiring reactively it helps us get better candidates and actually better employees down the road to overcome some of those challenges, because the labor market has completely shifted, and you're right. The interviews have completely shifted in 2 years, and we see that. And so we have to find ways, though, to still, because like Rick said, there's really, really talented candidates out there, and we have to find a way, because of the social challenges we're faced with, to still attract them and bring them in the door.
Let me just jump in here real quick, and I'll be very brief. It is about people. Alicia touched upon that. So I just got this information today. We have about 101 people. We've had 9 that have been with us 25 years or longer, 21, 15 to 24, and 39, 5 to 14. That's how you take a company and you get to be 53 years old, and you're still hungry, and you're aggressive, and you're growing. That's how you do it. It's always about people, getting the right ones.
And I would say the technology has allowed us to move a lot more freight with fewer people.
Yeah.
So the technology is a major impact in the 3PL world, the logistics world.
Yeah, let's go to Tyler, and then we'll come over to you. Go ahead, Tyler.
Rick, great transition. My question is, over the last few years, I've seen a lot of tech emerge in the logistics industry, and I just wanted to know, from a technology standpoint, what has your team kind of put out there to gain the competitive advantage, and then how did you decide what features or products to put out in the tech sector?
Actually, Alicia can answer that better than I.
Yes, you
want
can.
me to
Oh, absolutely.
So, the one really unique and amazing thing about Johanson's is that its entire database and operational systems are proprietary, meaning from the onset of this company, after the paper days, they developed it in-house, and that has been a legacy platform that we have operated off of. Now, that does pose challenges. However, the benefits by far outweigh those challenges, because we are able to customize our system very efficiently, very quickly for any client demand. And so going back to your other question, usually some of the enhancements to our system and how our system has grown is because of the demands put on us by our clients, and in some regard our competitors, right? Because you have to stay ahead of the curve, stay competitive. I don't know that we'll ever move away from proprietary system. I think what technology nowadays has enabled us to do is to bring in other third-party technology providers that help enhance our system without, diluting more resources than we currently have within. And so that's just a way you have to pivot in business and stay lean.
And I think that thanks for saying that, because I think it's really important that being able to customize the software throughout or integrate your own allows you, it is hard, you're not buying off the shelf, but on the other hand, you're able to customize it to meet the needs that you need to provide the level of service that you want to your customer. And that's a hugely unique differentiator from JTS to other people, I think, in the market. And one other point before I come over to you, Batui, we talk about COVID, and Matthew, that was a great question. Coming here, you students are making a step. You're coming into a situation that's not necessarily comfortable. I'm forcing you, I'm talking about all of you that I pulled around, to sit next to somebody you don't know and to share of yourself. So you taking on opportunities like this or throughout your educational journey is critical to build that confidence that the three of them are talking about, to be able to feel that you are coming from a place that's very interesting and important, and that others are going to be very interesting in hearing about. So keep, whether it's here or somewhere else, keep taking the risk to expose yourself to new people and to practice in a safe environment those skills that are really critical today, whether you work for a really large organization, a growing mid-sized to large, I'd say large organization here, or a small startup. the skills are still important, and you guys are making a great step by being here today. Okay, Batui.
Thank you so much. I could benefit from your piece of advice as well. We're getting exposure to as many different folks as possible because we can always learn and grow, right? So thank you for that, Mindy. And thank you, everybody, for being here. I have to get started by thanking you, Mr. Larry Johanson, because I happen to be one of the beneficiaries of your philanthropy. Philanthropic activities. I received a scholarship, and due to your generosity, I, together with a student, with a team of students, we were able to collect data and get it published in pretty good journals. So thank you so very much for your generosity, for being here. My question, thank you for speaking about the role of technology and the fact that your technology is proprietary, because that gives us some sense about your sources of competitive advantage. So thank you for making things a bit concrete. Now, my question is about the role of artificial intelligence. I teach entrepreneurship and innovation, and many of my students are here, like 40, maybe like something like that. Give it a shout out if you're here, guys. So what is the role of the artificial intelligence for your business model? What is it going to be? Are you going to be jeopardized? Is it a threat? Is it an opportunity? Or is it both? Because listening to you, right, like you're a broker between the buyer and the seller, and given the fact that the artificial intelligence is becoming so omnipresent and powerful, do you think that is going to jeopardize at least part of your business model? Thank you.
There's, AI is not going
That's a
away.
big question.
Yeah, it's a big
That's
question.
a big question.
But
That's
if,
a hard one.
if you start at where our business started with paper, phone calls first of all, and then paper, and then fax, and then computers, and you look at the evolution, does it scare us? Absolutely not. Because we have a proprietary system and we know that we partner with where we're weak, we partner with vendors that make us strong. And so that does not scare us. Is it a threat, and is it going to, absolutely. Any technology is a threat, and so you always have to stay knowledgeable and ahead of the curve. But it's also a way for us to gain a competitive advantage and work with the vendors that we have. If our system can adapt to it, we will find a way to adapt to it. And really that is dictated upon our clients' demands. And that is usually where we hear about it first. And it's some of our bigger, large-scale customers that it comes to us first, and we'll kind of get wind of it. So we usually can be ahead of the curve, and that comes from anything from a phone system to EDI that we thought was going away that's now back. Any APIs that we're dealing with, and AI is just the next step. And does it scare me? No, and I speak to and deal with IT multiple times a day, all day, and so it's really just something that we're faced with, and I don't even look at it as a roadblock. I just look at it as the next challenge we get to take on.
There have been some companies, just a little bit before AI, but there's a company was in business up in Seattle called Convoy. They try to digitize our business. They try to take the human element out of it and just make it B2B, just boom, boom, boom. It's very challenging for that to happen because there are so many disruptions in the supply chain. Most of it is just in time. Weather, capacity on the produce side, weather, growing conditions, everything changes. It was Convoy. They were a multi-billion-dollar company 5 years ago, and they just went bankrupt in December, I believe. Couldn't do it. So AI is going to play into this, somewhere. Transportation's probably not the leading edge of that. It kind of probably supplants some tracing and tracking and human element that way. But Uber Freight is trying to digitize the bit. There's companies out there trying to do it, but at the end of the day, it all sounds good. The industry works on a pretty thin margin to begin with. There's not a tremendous savings. There's savings, but as soon as the customer's not getting the delivery or doesn't have visibility of their delivery, or the load never got picked up and they're just finding out about it, and us as consumers go to the store and it's not there, and this happens time and time again, and they have lost sales, they'll back out because the fulfillment rate in transportation, especially domestically, 95% of your trucks coast to coast, they'll run on time, 95%. Short haul, intra-Cal, 99% will run on time. So these guys, you want your fresh merchandise, it's coming in today, it's in your store tonight. It's coming in, you know, it's in the field. If it's going from here to Tracy, we're picking it up today, it's going to that warehouse, and you're probably buying it tomorrow. So these things move, the industry moves tremendously quick. Now, if it's Tide detergent, it's a little bit different. But on the fresh side, trying to automate this whole process is, comes with a set of challenges.
You're dealing with temperature challenges, steel policy challenges, loading challenges, product challenges, trailer mismatch number challenge. I mean, there's a lot of manual things that are done in the supply chain right now that you just can't automate yet. They just haven't figured that out. Now, I will say there's a segment of our business, and it's called LTL, it's less than truckload, that is far advanced than over the road with your not so common carriers. So you're talking on the common carrier side, like the JB Hunts, the SDs, the Old Dominions, those type of carriers, FedEx, UPS, formerly UPS. So that side of our business is completely streamlined, super efficient through technology, almost a hands-off business, all automated. And so I do see AI coming into play on that side of our business actually a lot sooner than the other side of our brokerage operation. That's because of what our proprietary system and our TMS was built on, and that technology is just amazing.
You also have to remember that the trucking industry is 85% small operators.
Yeah.
So while everyone might know Schneider or JB Hunt, most of it is really decentralized. Good operators, bad operators, crooks, loads get stolen.
Double brokered.
I'm from brokers. I mean, it runs the gamut. So so adoption of some of these technologies with a guy that's running 5 trucks, it's not going to happen. You know, so that's where, as a third party, we come in and we provide a lot of these solutions for the big users, big chains. But you're small, but a lot of this filters down to the, trucking barrier to entry is not all that significant. Guy, may or may not be educated. A lot of foreign people do it. They don't have to have command of the language. They can make a pretty good living doing it. They figure out the business, then they buy their second, third, fourth, fifth truck. Pretty soon they have their small business, but they're good at trucking, but the technology side is really a challenge to keep up with, especially with all the rules and regulations, and especially being in the state that we're in. It's really tough running in California.
Yes.
I have a question for all of you. My name is Vic. I work for Access Plus Capital. We help startup businesses with consultations and funding. Your business started quite a while back, and client acquisition was probably getting on the phone and calling, having your salespeople calling folks, and you mentioned the transition with the new people. What I found is a lot of people, young people that start up businesses, rely heavily on digital marketing and social media for client acquisition. My question is, if you were to start your company again today, fresh, how would you do something different using the technology of today? That's my first question. The second question is, one of the other challenges is converting these startups to have that entrepreneurial mindset. If a guy worked as a cook in a restaurant and made tacos and he wants to open up a restaurant, he knows how to cook, but does he know how to run a restaurant? Does he know how to get clients into his door? So can you touch a little bit about that? Can entrepreneurial mindset be taught, or is that something innate? You're born an entrepreneur and that's your destiny. So I'd like to.
Larry, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, let me give it a whirl. Yeah, I think an entrepreneurial mindset is learned. It's learned through observation. It's putting yourself at the age that you're at around people that you, again, I'm going to come back to that word mentor, teach. because none of us had that when I was 15, 16, 17, whatever it was. Maybe I had it a little bit, but it's, it's something that you learn. It's like learning on the job. But what you have to have, I think, internally is drive, a persistence, a creative mind. And I want to do this because you talked about opening the business, right? Put your key in the front door, you walk in. Now what? Now what do I do? I got a business here, I just opened the door. But, you have to be able to have that mindset, that challenge, that belief in yourself, that self-confidence. Be a team builder, be a good listener. All this stuff plays into entrepreneurship. And I see that. I just see it as hugely important. Very briefly, we'd probably secure clients different now because everything's so different than when Rick and I were starting. We had a printed book for the produce, the fresh fruits and vegetables. They had one book was called the Blue Book because it had a blue cover. Yeah. The other one was a red book because it had a red cover. And that's how we found our leads.
It was a produce.
And
produce
we'd flip through them page by page, call them up. Maybe they take our call, and now it's all different. It's, and that also applies on the carrier side too, because carriers are clients, they're customers. Those drivers are clients. They're hugely important and appreciated. So it's a lot different now.
I'll dabble with that. I think one other quality as far as entrepreneurial learning versus being born with it, I will say I think it's learned as well. I think one thing that Larry probably skipped over is grit. Like, there's going to be so many challenges and so many obstacles, and you have to have that grit to take that and keep going forward. The other side of the question, I will say that you look at the evolution of sales, operations, and everything that's changed on the carrier side, especially I think back to 2018 when ELDs were rolled out, which is electronic logging devices. So carriers used to log their miles on a book by pencil. Some of them still do. And then the government then rolled out the regulation that ELDs were required in all trucks. Well, that was huge for our industry. I mean, and we're still feeling some of the effects of that. And so, like, you just look at the evolution, and that really forced a lot of the veteran carriers out that treated trucking as a job, or as a way of life, and brought in a whole new workforce of drivers that want to be home every night. Right?
Yeah.
They want to go do their job, drive their truck, make their route, and come home at night. And in the olden days, I should say, and prior to some of these regulations that forced a lot of veteran drivers out of the industry, that was just a way of life. They knew they were going to be gone for 4 or 5 days, sometimes 7, 8 days, going to the East Coast, coming back. And so because of that, our shipping clientele had to change their outlook on you see all these distribution centers now popping up all over the place because they're having to adapt to the driver way of life now that is in the driving, the labor market for the drivers. The same thing with our business on the sales side. I will say I still use the Blue Book. It's under my desk. I flip through that sometimes. But we have a digital version, right? And so I will say we have a relatively small sales force of individuals, and we actually have salesmen who still believe firmly in the face-to-face selling, door-to-door, knocking on doors. We have the other salesmen on the younger side that tend to shoot the emails off, like to stay a little bit behind the computer until they make that connection. So really, I see, like, if we were to open up our doors today, you still in this business, in the supply chain, because of that dynamics of the shipping industry, the carrier industry, it's really unique because you get to kind of have all of those dynamics.
We probably have time for a couple more questions. There's one back there.
Just a question for you, Mr. Johanson. Oh, thank you. You're so nice. Just a question for you. You mentioned drive. What gives you drive nowadays? That your business is thriving, you have colleagues right next to you that have the competency of so many. What gives you the drive now that you have the money, the success, the motivation? Where does that come from?
Our people. You know, I'm so thankful and so blessed to have the group of people that we have across this company. And that's what keeps me going and committed to our company, because I really believe with them, and they're driving the company now. It's not me anymore. I'm comfortable with that. I really believe best days are ahead. We're aggressive. Boy, are we aggressive. And I really thank Alicia and some of the other people across the company that are really pushing us really, really hard. That's what inspires me and keeps me going.
Thank you.
Yes, one more question here.
I'm studying public relations and advertising at the moment. I was wondering if you guys have a communications department.
Looks like we might soon.
Do you have your resume? No, I'm teasing.
I do have my card. We have a marketing department. We do. It's very small. It's actually one person that she is based in Wisconsin. That is something that we do plan as we grow, and that we realize the need is to bring that to corporate. There's a lot that's lacked in the marketing side. Do we have a communications department? No, but we have a marketing department. In that department, we have a marketing team, the subcommittee that kind of helps dictate some of our, future goals and plans, and kind of pushes things out for our clientele and stuff.
I was taking a look at your webpage and your at your Instagram. I was looking you guys up while you guys were answering questions. Do you guys think having the social media presence is important and adds to your company? Because just from hearing you guys speak, I really love everything you guys are explaining, and I'm learning about something new, so I really wanted to stay in touch with your business. How do you guys think social media adds to your company value?
Go ahead.
Yes, you do again.
Yeah.
Notice we're going
So-
younger.
Oh,
lately.
Alicia.
So you really prove a really good point for me about 8 years ago when I was trying to push Instagram, social media. Now I'm like, meh, we have it. Are we probably as good as we can be on there? No. We have it really because of our people and our clients. Some of the dynamics of our clients have shifted, and that has also become a little bit more popular on the client side. And also the carrier side. I mean, all of our carriers are app fatigued right now. Aren't we all app fatigued? But you realize social media is not going to go away. And so we knew we had to do it, but it literally took us about 9 years to get there.
Keep in mind, our product is not appealing to the consumer in this. So we're trying to get to that traffic department manager. They may, when they're checking us out, see what, they'll Google us, find what but we're not selling to you. So we don't get the hits, but on the back end, you need to have that presence so that you can legitimize your business. You don't want them to Google you and not find anything again, there's a lot of swindlers out there, but you're trying to get to your traffic people. And again, we do thousands of loads and millions of dollars weekly, and we may not even talk to the customer during that time. It may all be electronic. So we don't need that presence for the sale per se.
But our people want us to have it, our employees. And I will say, when I am interviewing, I do look at your social media. So
That's a good
if
point.
you don't want it on the front page of the newspaper that we don't have anymore, don't post it on social media. That's
Most
my rule of thumb.
employers will look at your Facebook page or your Instagram when they're
So
interviewing.
clean it up, you guys.
I have a
So-
question. Mindy, can we ask a question?
Oh, please.
I just, really quick, a show of hands, is anybody in here a transportation, specialty, major, in logistic, nope, okay. Awesome.
Are there any entrepreneurs in here that would like to learn more about transportation? I think there's several.
Nice, love it.
How
Zeb?
long do you guys think it takes a truck to go? We were talking about this. How long does we load a truck, this is how fast the business works. I can take a call right now. Guy says, go pick up a load of oranges and bring it to me in Philadelphia, and I need it as soon as you can get it here. So from right now, when will that truck, on average transit with a team? Has anybody ever driven
is 2
cross-country?
drivers.
2 drivers. Anybody ever driven cross-country?
There's one hand up there too.
Yeah. So when you're in business, now this is commerce, they need it. How many days? 10 days?
There's hours of service rules.
Yeah.
If you have two drivers, do the hours of service rules apply because don't they swap out when they swap?
Right, right,
Good job.
yeah. So they'll cover it roughly in 3 days. So, but just how quick it moves, it's not like they call us a week ago and say, pick it up today.
Right.
We get the call this afternoon, and we may have a truck under it, and if it's in Reedley or in Fresno, and we may have access to the equipment maybe this, in a few, an hour, might be tonight, and that truck will deliver, because in the commodities we're dealing with, we have weather, we have things that impact it. So it's really, have you ever seen a movie where the old stock market, where they're up and down on the phone?
It's like
and
the stock market, but for freight.
we're the stock market for freight. And back in the day, Larry and I had 2 phones, and that's how you did it. You'd have 2 phones, and then when you were worn out, you put one down. And but it was literally, I'll do that, and then you're on the other phone with the truck, and it's a very, now it's electronic, but we
Two
still,
monitors.
there's still a lot of mom and pops that are, again, big businesses. They're still very big businesses, but they still call orders in. They still work, but now instead of using the desk phone, a lot of it's gone to the cell, texting.
We're going to need to wrap up, but I think I can hopefully speak for you all three that you'll stay around a little bit if people have questions, because I know that there's so many things to explore. But I have to say personally that this guy here is one of my heroes. And it's a crazy dream that he's finally here with his team. So what I want to do is we're going to open it up we're going to close it down. I have some things that I want to show you. But before we do that, did all the students tear up those little tickets that you were given, or do you still have them in your hands? I'm going to let Larry or Rick, we'll pass it down, because what I have found by this time of the day, some of the students have left. We'll start with Larry, and he can pull the ticket. These are only for students.
Well, I think if you get the winner, we're good.
If they left, they.
Ready?
Okay, here we go.
Okay, here we go. 376954.
Anybody still here?
376954.
We heard it's $1 million.
Oh, it's really a good one this time, you guys. You're going to want to keep those tickets. Okay, come on, Alicia.
No.
All right, you ready? 377076.
Okay.
Boy.
376940. Bingo.
Do we have it?
Do we have it?
Yay! You'll have to go open it up and see. Thank you all for coming today. Especially, it is a treat for me to have Larry here, because he has given so much to the university, and at the same time, all of you have also been impacted by his generosity in the companies. And those of you who are lucky enough to sit at a table with a Johanson faculty fellow, what they've been talking about today and the entrepreneurial mindset is what these fellows are doing in their disciplines. And so I really urge you to understand that I'm with them. The entrepreneurial mindset is something you can learn. It takes a lot of practice. And one thing you didn't see is, I think it was Larry or maybe Rick, when they talked about they tried a lot of things. They didn't necessarily always work, but they kept trying. And that is part of the entrepreneurial mindset. So really, any single one of you, regardless of the industry or the career path that you think you're going after, can really learn a lot and get value out of learning these skills. I urge you to go over to the table and talk to somebody from the Fellows Program. Join the CEO Club, because they are like-minded students that are very interested in continuing to learn these skills and to come back to pay it forward, because this is another opportunity for you to learn something new, to practice speaking with the people at your table. Hopefully you were able to get a business card or two, or at least contact information, and come back and see these people again, because that is how you're going to grow. On behalf of the Lyle Center and the university, we have a little thank you for all three of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you all for being here today. And, oh, I knew I was going to get emotional with this guy right here. Okay, let's see. Some of you have been asking me now for, it seems like months, it's probably been years, when you videotape these presentations, what do you do with them? Well, we do videotape, and it's for the use of those who can't be here, or for those who want to listen to it again. You can go on this site here, and you can actually view on YouTube presentations in the past. So please, come to the Lyle Center and figure out how to access them. Go to this site. But there's a whole load of really good videos that you can access if you aren't able to be here in person.
So is this the start of my video YouTube
It
channel?
absolutely is. So to answer your question, this is going to be the first day. Maybe it's a blog, Rick. I don't know. It could be a blog. It could be your
Who knows?
Instagram. Who knows where it's going to go.
Might have some golfing stuff on it.
We'll have to clean it up. But really seriously, you guys, clean up your social media. If you're a student in this room, we all will be, when you go for an interview, what's the first thing we're going to do is kind of see what your personality is like online. And yes.
Even if it's password protected, HR departments know how to get around those passwords. So I tell my students, if you don't want your grandma to see it, it is not appropriate to access.
So think about that, guys.
Yeah.
And I want to invite you back to our March program, another Fresno State graduate. This is Aaron Merrill. He is the CEO and founder of Play-Doh Pet Treats. And they are a company that uses all the agricultural byproducts to create treats for pets. They're a 200-person company here in Fresno. And he's a Fresno State graduate, and I think he's going to have an interesting story to share. So please, and they might have some trekking leads.
Yeah, she's already got it.
Oh, good.
This
So
is how
you-
we get our leads.
Yeah.
So you never know where a good lead's going to come from. So honestly, I hope you can come back, and then we'll end this semester with a little treat from Eppersand and have Jeff Bennett here, who is going to talk about his company and what it's taken for him to grow from a one-stop shop down by Fresno High to the multiple operations they have in the valley and what their plans are for the future. So thank you for coming. Loved having you here. They will stay here for a few minutes if you want to come up and talk to them, and I hope to see you next month. Thank you.